I remember that time when I was around 16 years old, staying at a hotel with my mom for a concert. All I wanted was to hit the indoor pool, but my mom was hesitant to join me. She was worried about my safety, thinking I might get nabbed by someone. I brushed off her concerns, thinking she was just being overprotective. Despite her protests, I headed downstairs alone, determined to have a swim. Entering the pool area, I was disappointed to find it crowded with at least 10 kids and even more adults. Ignoring the urge to retreat, I set my stuff down and headed for the deep end. The heated pool was a welcome relief from the usual freezing temperatures. As I relaxed, I noticed a man in his 60s walking alone. Instantly, I felt creeped out by his presence, sensing something off about him. He struck up a conversation, asking about school and my interests. Despite my attempts to ignore him, he persisted, introducing himself and laughing in a way that sent shivers down my spine. Feeling increasingly uncomfortable, I asked him to leave me alone, but he wouldn't take the hint. Desperate to escape his company, I fled to the hot tub, hoping the presence of other adults would deter him. To my horror, he followed me, slipping into the hot tub right beside me and making inappropriate comments. His actions made my skin crawl, and when he tried to touch me, I recoiled in disgust. Moving to the other end of the tub, I tried to ignore him, but he persisted, rubbing his foot against mine with a sinister smirk. It was clear he had no intention of leaving me alone, his actions becoming increasingly invasive and disturbing. Despite the bubbling water obscuring my view, I could feel his gaze on me, his intentions unmistakable. I felt trapped, wishing I could vanish from his sight, but I knew I had to find a way to escape his clutches before things escalated further. Encounter with the man, and I didn't dare mention it either. They seemed satisfied with my story and left, promising to follow up with any updates. After they left, my mom finally opened up about what happened. She had confronted the man, and things had turned violent. She assured me that he wouldn't be bothering anyone again, but she refused to go into further detail. Despite the ordeal, I felt relieved knowing that the man was dealt with. My mom's protective instincts had kicked in, and she had taken matters into her own hands to ensure our safety. It was a terrifying experience, but it also taught me the importance of being vigilant and speaking up when faced with danger. Looking back, I realized how vulnerable I had been, but also how resilient I had become. It was a lesson in trusting my instincts and finding the courage to stand up for myself, even in the face of fear. From that day on, I vowed to always listen to my gut and never underestimate my ability to protect myself. As for the hotel incident, it served as a stark reminder of the dangers that lurk in seemingly safe places. It was a wake-up call for both me and my mom, a reminder to always be aware of our surroundings and to never let our guard down, no matter where we are. And while the memory of that encounter may haunt me, it also serves as a testament to the strength and resilience that lie within us, ready to rise to the occasion when needed. Once we reached the abandoned hotel, its imposing presence sent shivers down my spine. The rumors surrounding it only fueled our curiosity, but deep down, I knew venturing into such a place was risky. The building stood as a relic of the past, slowly being reclaimed by nature. Its once grandeur now overshadowed by decay. As we made our way through the overgrown vegetation surrounding the hotel, fog thickened, adding an eerie atmosphere to the already ominous scene. Despite my growing unease, the excitement of my friends was contagious, and I pushed aside my doubts, not wanting to spoil the adventure for them. Approaching the entrance, broken windows and crumbling walls greeted us, serving as reminders of the building's abandonment. Yet, there was a part of me that still clung to the hope that perhaps it was all just a spooky tale, exaggerated to deter curious souls like us. With our flashlights in hand, we entered the hotel, each step echoing through the empty halls. The air was heavy with dust and decay, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every creak and groan of the building sent chills down my spine, and I found myself questioning the wisdom of our decision. Despite the foreboding atmosphere, we pressed on, curiosity driving us deeper into the heart of the hotel. Each room we entered revealed more of its forgotten past, from discarded furniture to faded wallpaper peeling off the walls. It was like stepping into a time capsule frozen in decay. As we explored further, the sense of unease grew, fueled by shadows dancing in the beam of our flashlights, and the occasional sound that seemed to come from nowhere. It was as if the very walls of the hotel held secrets, whispering tales of the past that we were not meant to hear. Yet, amidst the fear and uncertainty, there was also a thrill, an exhilarating rush that came from stepping into the unknown. It was a reminder that life was meant to be lived, even if it meant venturing into the darkness in search of adventure. Little did we know, our exploration of the abandoned hotel would lead us down a path fraught with danger, where the line between reality and the supernatural blurred, and the true horrors of the past came to light. But that's a story for another time. Abandoned hotel and meant no harm, but the men's reactions were far from friendly. They exchanged uneasy glances before one of them, a burly figure with a menacing look, rose to his feet. His voice was low and gruff as he demanded to know what we were doing there. My heart pounded in my chest as fear gripped me, realizing the gravity of our situation. These were not just squatters looking for shelter. They were dangerous individuals, and we had stumbled upon their territory uninvited. Panic threatened to overwhelm me as I searched for a way out of the room. Alex, ever the brave one, tried to diffuse the tension, but his efforts were met with hostility. The men's demeanor grew more aggressive, their eyes flashing with anger as they advanced towards us. It was clear that we were not welcome, and I feared what they might do if we didn't leave immediately. With adrenaline coursing through my veins, I backed away slowly, urging my friends to follow suit. Every fiber of my being screamed to flee, to escape the looming threat that now surrounded us. But as we turned to leave, the men made their move, blocking our path with menacing glares. Trapped and outnumbered, we had no choice but to confront the reality of our predicament. These men were not going to let us leave without a fight, and the thought sent shivers down my spine. I glanced at my friends, their faces pale with fear, and knew that we had to act fast if we were to get out of this alive. Summoning every ounce of courage I had left, I took a step forward, my voice trembling as I pleaded with the men to let us go, but they only laughed, their laughter echoing off the dilapidated walls of the room. It was then that I knew we were in real danger, and that our only hope lay in finding a way to escape before it was too late. As the tension in the room reached its breaking point, a sudden noise from outside caught everyone's attention. The men glanced at each other, their expressions tense with apprehension. Without a moment's hesitation, we seized the opportunity to make our escape, darting past them and out into the hallway. With adrenaline fueling our flight, we raced down the stairs, the sound of our footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. Behind us, the men's shouts echoed, growing fainter with each step. It was a race against time, a desperate bid for survival in a place where danger lurked around every corner. Finally, we burst out into the night, our breath coming in ragged gasps as we stumbled to a halt. The cool night air washed over us, a welcome relief after the suffocating confines of the abandoned hotel. But even as we caught our breath, we knew that our ordeal was far from over. We had narrowly escaped a perilous situation, but the memory of those men's faces would haunt us for years to come. As we made our way back to town, shaken but alive, I couldn't help but wonder what other dangers lurked in the shadows of that abandoned hotel. It was a sobering reminder that sometimes curiosity can lead us down paths we never intended to tread, and that the line between adventure and danger is thinner than we dare to imagine. Fingers, my hands still tied behind my back, with trembling fingers, I struggled to turn the lock, my heart pounding in my chest as each second felt like an eternity. Finally, with a soft click, the lock gave way, and I pushed the door open just enough to slip through. I crept down the hallway, every nerve on edge as I listened for any sign of pursuit. The sounds of the music from the room grew fainter with each step, and I prayed that I had managed to escape unnoticed. But as I reached the end of the hallway, my heart sank as I heard heavy footsteps approaching from behind. With a surge of adrenaline, I broke into a run, my bare feet pounding against the carpeted floor as I raced towards the stairwell. Behind me, I could hear the man's angry shouts echoing through the corridor, spurring me on even faster. I reached the stairwell just as he rounded the corner, and without hesitation, I leaped down the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. The adrenaline coursing through my veins dulled the pain in my feet as I raced down the stairs, my only thought to escape the nightmare that had become my reality. With each flight, I prayed that I was putting more distance between myself and my captor, that I would soon be free from this living nightmare. Finally, I reached the ground floor, my breath coming in ragged gasps as I burst through the door and out into the cool night air. Freedom was within my grasp, but I knew I couldn't stop running until I was far away from that hotel, far away from the horrors that lurked within its walls. With every step, I felt the weight of fear and uncertainty lifting from my shoulders, replaced by a sense of determination and resilience. I was a survivor, and nothing would ever break me. As I ran through the deserted streets, the city lights blurred into a haze of colors, a stark contrast to the darkness that had consumed me only moments before. And though I knew the scars of that night would linger, I also knew that I had emerged stronger than ever before. In the days and weeks that followed, I pieced together the fragments of my shattered life, finding solace in the love and support of friends and family. And though the memory of that harrowing ordeal would never fade completely, it no longer held power over me. I had faced my darkest fears and emerged victorious, a survivor in every sense of the word. And as I looked to the future, I knew that nothing could ever dim the light that burned within me, a beacon of hope and resilience that would guide me through whatever challenges lay ahead. In a small clearing surrounded by dense forest, there were no signs of life, no indication that anyone had been there recently. It was as if the town itself had vanished into the night, leaving only darkness and silence in its wake. Feeling a sense of unease creeping over us, we decided to venture deeper into the forest, hoping to find any sign of the person in need of help. The trees loomed overhead, their branches casting eerie shadows in the moonlight as we made our way through the dense undergrowth. After what felt like hours of searching, we finally stumbled upon a clearing where a small cabin stood nestled among the trees. It looked abandoned, with boarded-up windows and a rusty old door hanging off its hinges. But as we approached, we heard the faint sound of moaning coming from inside. With a sense of urgency, we forced open the door and stepped inside, our flashlights cutting through the darkness. What we found inside was a scene straight out of a nightmare. The cabin was filled with makeshift medical equipment, and lying on a makeshift bed in the corner was a man who appeared to be in the throes of a heart attack. We wasted no time in administering first aid, doing everything we could to stabilize him until help arrived. It was a tense and frantic scene, but finally, we managed to stabilize the man and get him onto a stretcher. As we carried him out of the cabin and back to the ambulance, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The whole situation felt surreal, as if we had stumbled into some kind of twisted horror movie. Getting out of the truck, illuminating the eerie structure in the daylight, even in the brightness of midday, the corn crib looked ominous, its weathered wood and boarded-up windows seeming to whisper secrets of the darkness within. I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that washed over me as I stared at the dilapidated building. The memories of that fateful night flooding back with a chilling intensity. I knew I had to confront those demons head-on, to prove once and for all that what had happened was real. Summoning all my courage, I stepped out of the truck and approached the corn crib, my footsteps echoing loudly in the silence of the deserted countryside. With every step, my heart pounded in my chest, a sense of foreboding hanging heavy in the air. As I reached the entrance to the crib, I hesitated for a moment, my hand trembling as I reached out to push open the creaky door. With a squeal of rusted hinges, the door swung open, revealing the darkness within. Taking a deep breath, I stepped inside, my flashlight casting long shadows on the walls as I moved cautiously through the space. The air was heavy with the scent of decay, and I could feel the weight of the past pressing down on me like a suffocating blanket. I made my way to the staircase that led up to the second story, each step groaning beneath my weight. As I reached the top, I felt a chill run down my spine, the memory of what I had seen that night burning bright in my mind's eye. But as I looked around the empty space, I saw nothing but dust and shadows, the remnants of a forgotten past. There was no sign of the blood that had stained the walls, no trace of the horrors that had haunted my dreams for so long. In that moment, I realized that the true terror lay not in the darkness of the corn crib, but in the depths of my own imagination. The events of that night had left scars that would never fully heal. But standing there in the silence of the abandoned building, I knew that I had faced my fears and emerged stronger for it. With a sense of closure, I turned and made my way back to the truck, leaving behind the ghosts of the past and embracing the promise of a brighter future. And as I drove away from that lonely farmhouse, I knew that I would never again be haunted by the shadows of the night, crawl through to get into someone else's apartment. This guy was getting in and waiting until people were asleep, and then murdering them. Then he would use their showers and go home. We all kind of put it together when we heard about the man who was killed in his shower, and his neighbor saw this stranger leave his apartment. They eventually caught him because he started breaking in and killing people in his own apartment complex. He's in prison now, but I still get nightmares about it all the time. It's crazy to think about how close we all were to being his next victims. But you know what they say? Hindsight is 20/20. And looking back now, I realized there were signs something wasn't right with him. Like how he would always stare at people for just a little too long, or how he never seemed to have any friends or family visit him. I guess sometimes we just ignore our gut instincts because we don't want to believe that someone could be capable of something so evil. But the truth is, you can never be too careful, especially when it comes to your safety and the safety of those around you. So always trust your instincts. And if something doesn't feel right, don't be afraid to speak up or seek help. You never know, it could save your life or someone else. That's incredibly unsettling. It's chilling to think that this intruder had been lurking around your apartment complex, possibly entering your home multiple times without your knowledge. The thought of someone standing over you while you sleep is the stuff of nightmares. It's fortunate that your roommate arrived when they did, and that the man was apprehended by the authorities. It's a stark reminder of the importance of home security and being vigilant, even in seemingly safe environments. It's unsettling to realize that danger can sometimes be closer than we think, lurking in the shadows of our own neighborhoods. It's a testament to the bravery of those who reported the suspicious activity and the quick response of law enforcement that this potential threat was neutralized before anyone was harmed.